I need everybody in Canada to sign my petition. I'm going to take you through the petition right now and explain all the points and what the intention of this petition is for. I have a website, eattherichcanada.com, that I encourage you to visit. Right now, it's only a link to this petition, but there's going to be merch. We are going to have a form to email your MPs. This thing's going to be open until the beginning of August, and yeah, it's going to be a big campaign. If you could make a video about this or share it anywhere on social media and use the hashtag eattherichcanada, that would be great. This is like the fact part of the petition. So the first point here is talking about the supports that the government gave to both individuals and businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic. I hear a lot of conservative politicians talk about CERB. There was $100 billion given to businesses in a wage subsidy compared to $80 billion given to individuals through CERB. They calculated what the average CEWS recipient, which was the wage subsidy for corporations, the average got $218,000, whereas the average individual got $9,000 from CERB. I went through the Auditor General reports for both programs, and they outlined many ways that corporations that weren't eligible or should not have received the subsidy did anyway. I want to draw attention to the fact that the government is focusing on clawing back CERB from individuals when corporations took advantage of this and took our tax dollars when they shouldn't have. I've seen reports of people's child tax benefit being clawed back to pay back their CERB, and that is not okay. And so that's pointed out here. I mentioned that corporations have profited off of this pandemic, and despite apparent price fixing and monopolistic behavior, they have not been subject to increased disclosure requirements in their financials. Also mentioned that corporations have been taking advantage of tax loopholes, which contribute to the inequality we see here in Canada, with the rich getting richer. And when I say rich, when I say eat the rich, I'm talking about the billionaires. I'm talking about like the people that we don't know, like the ones that have multiple properties, the oligarchs essentially. I'm not talking about someone who makes $200,000 a year. They're not rich. They may feel rich compared to their neighbor, but they're not. That's not who we're talking about here. So everyone can get on board with this. And here's our ask. This is what the petition is asking the government to do. So we, the undersigned, citizens and residents of Canada, call upon the Government of Canada to update disclosures of the corporations that received CEWS to include the amounts received and identify their parent company. So we know which of these corporations took this money. And we know that like the telecom companies took it. We know big, huge companies took it. We want to ask them to shift the effort from the CERB recovery to the CEWS recovery. Leave the citizens alone who got a couple extra $1,000s to help them get by, and go after the large corporations that took millions of dollars. We're asking the government to claw back the CEWS funding, which the WS represents wage subsidy. So the whole point of this program was to subsidize the wages. So corporations, don't lay off your people. We will help you pay for them if you had a dip in revenue, right? So we want to claw back this payment to corporations who took it in bad faith. And also, while they were taking our tax dollars, they paid their shareholders either in dividends or share buybacks. They acquired other businesses, changed compensation structures for executives so the executives could get more money than they normally would, and they laid off employees. That should be the biggest one right there. Is the whole point of this was it was a wage subsidy so that you would not lay off people. And many corporations took this money and then laid people off anyway. They should get to keep that money. Increase corporate tax rates and implement a windfall profits tax. I should have written here, increase corporate tax rates for like the highest earning corporations. I don't want small business owners to hesitate to sign this because they're afraid that, their tax rate's going to go up. This is, there's not exact details here. It's very broad, but the biggest corporations aren't paying enough tax. And that's what this is addressing. We need to increase the taxes and the windfall profits tax for those corporations, loblaws, that are just completely screwing everyone else. This isn't intended to hurt the small businesses. We want to close corporate tax loopholes such as capital gains exemptions and tax havens, just loopholes that big corporations take advantage of to pay less tax. It's not that they're evading taxes because it's just avoidance. It's all within the law. So the laws need to change. We need to crack down on these loopholes so that they're paying their fair share. We need to introduce a cap on the amount of executive salary that can be deducted by corporations. In the States, it's $1 million. Up here in Canada, we have no such limit. So if you want to pay your executive $20 million salary, you can do so, and every single amount is written off, and then you just pay tax on the after deduction amount. And so we need a cap. That's just ridiculous. We also need to require all multinational entities to provide public disclosures on their country by country data. So I've had many complaints about the fact that we don't get standalone statements for Walmart Canada to see what they're paying in tax, what their profit margins are. It's all consolidated up into the US operations. So that's our ask, right? Like, realistically, they're not going to be like, okay, yeah, we'll do everything. But we want attention to this. This is what is hurting all of us. It is these preferential rules for corporations, and they gaslight you into thinking that it's people that are leeching from the system. No, it's this. It's exactly this. They're saving on taxes, they're not contributing enough, and they're gouging us. So Matthew Green, I'll tag him in this video. He has graciously sponsored this petition to the House of Commons. So thank you, Matthew. If you don't follow him, give him a follow. He's doing really good work, and I really appreciate a politician who is willing to go and stand up against these corporations. And I don't see that happening in either the Liberal or Conservative parties, right? Don't call me a liberal. They're just as corporate friendly as the Conservatives are, but they all avoid the topic of taxing corporations more and having tax fairness for citizens. So that's what this whole petition's about. It's about telling our government that we want them to care about us and to stop doing things that are advantageous for the corporations. And on the website that I referenced earlier, I am going to include a place where you can contact your MP. This is going to be open for signatures while they're away on summer break. And I want all the MPs to be getting emailed by their constituents to let them know that we support this and we want you to do something about it. It's not just Matthew. Like, he will get 45 seconds to speak his piece in the House of Commons, I think, once this reaches 5,000 signatures. But it shouldn't be just him, right? We need to let them all know that this matters to us. And we're not going to see any sort of change as far as equality goes until we tackle this big problem. So anyway, eat the rich.